All right, you're good.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 21st, 2026 Historic Preservation
August
Commission
20th.
meeting. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the HPC. Notice has been given in the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. A notice has also been posted in City Hall. We are being broadcast live on Channel 34, the Montclair Public Television channel. We are also being live streamed on Montclair's own YouTube channel. Ms. Cassim, roll call, please.
Chair Bennett,
Present.
Vice Chair Graham,
Here.
Mr. Rooney,
Here.
Mr. Reimnitz,
Here.
Mr. Sweeney is excused, Mr. Giuliano,
Here.
Ms. Kane Levy is excused, Mr. Mixer is excused, Ms. Floyd,
Here.
Ms. Bauer,
Here.
Mr. Smolin.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. First order of business is the minutes from July 16th, last month, 2026. Does anyone have any addendum or edits to the minutes as written? I think there were a few people that cannot vote on these tonight, correct?
Chair Bennett, Vice Chair Graham, Mr. Reimnitz are eligible to vote.
Is that, okay, okay, so the three of us that are eligible to vote, would you, someone make a motion?
I move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Okay, so accepted as written. Thank you, Sanat, they were very well done. There are no resolutions. Committee reports. We have minor applications met on July 30th. Application 2026-11 Bloomingdale's on 260 Bellevue was approved with conditions. Application 2026-16 Wine Guys at 517 Bloomfield Avenue was approved with conditions. Application 2026-22 Casa del Sol at 195 Bellevue Avenue was approved. Then minor applications met again on August 6th. Nouvelle, application 2026-23 at 237 Lorraine Avenue was approved with conditions. Application 2026-24 Cafe de Montclair at 555 Bloomfield Avenue was approved with conditions. Application 2026-25 Hot Birds at 369 Bloomfield was approved with conditions. And then 27 Valley Road, can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, so there was can't remember the project number, I think it's 2026-24, was approved with conditions, and there's a facade replacement on the upper floors.
Okay, great. Thank you. The master plan update, we've been working on the master plan for the past 3 months, subcommittee, and we've had public comment here for May, June, and July, and those public comments will be folded into the update of the master plan. So what we're envisioning is a revision, a revised plan, which will really be this plan that you can see on the website currently, because all of the information that's in there is basically all the same. You know, which talks about the ordinances, the historic districts, the landmarks, it's all the same, but it has been updated and revised. So included in this update and revision, there are comments from the public, and I just wanted to name a few of the comments. Continue to update historic preservation goals and objectives for the next 7 to 10 years. This is public engagement. As I said, it was we had public comment the past 3 months. Public feedback. Continue to promote the creation of local residential landmark districts. 2, improve communication between the land boards, the planning, the zoning, the HPC, planning department, building department, and township communications department. And we've already started on that with meetings with, especially the township communications chairperson. Eliminate contractors' lawn signs, ordinance change similar to what they do in Glen Ridge. engage more schools, scouts, younger people, participation in local historic preservation efforts, address residents' concerns that maintaining their homes according to Secretary of Interior standards may not be economically feasible to some homeowners, advocate and expand design guidelines for redevelopment projects and local historic districts for new construction, and revise local landmark district nomination reports for the three local historic districts. It's the Town Center Historic District, which was written 2002 to 2004, the Upper Montclair Historic District, which was written in 2006, and the Watchung Plaza Historic District, written in 2012. It's important to update classifications to contributing or non-contributing or key contributing. Non-contributing would be described as harmonizing or an intrusion. And I include Pine Street in that as well, because we'll be talking about the Pine Street Historic District tonight. There will also be updates on the grants that we have received, which have enabled us, professionals that the township has hired, to create historic survey structures for each structure, site, building or object that's within a proposed historic district. So once that's created, a report is generated, and that report is sent to the state. And if any building, site, structure, or object is slated for demolition, that would come before us, because we're the board that has the power to approve or deny demolition. So that's all in the preservation element of the master plan, the revision. I'm going to ask the NOB to send a copy to all of the members, and feedback on what we've been doing. We do have a red line part of it that actually came out of the current master plan, and that will be updated to include some of the things that I talked about tonight, but also some other additional things concerning historic preservation. So, Zainab, I'll send this to you tomorrow, and then you can send it to the commissioners. Okay, and then for the other thing that we've been working on in a subcommittee, which is Mike Graham and John Reimnitz and myself, is a subcommittee to look at the demolition ordinance and, update that. We've had 6 meetings. We had one today, and we're now looking at and it's pretty much come together. We're now looking at the application for demolition. So that'll be something that also I'll ask the NOB, after we get the application together, to send a copy to everybody, and then you can comment on that. For outreach, Mr. Smolin, our HPC consultant, kindly sent a really good article called 24 Reasons for Why Historic Preservation is Good for Your Community. Zainab, I'm going to ask you to send this to all the members and see what their comments are, and possibly we can put this up on the website. Okay? So that is all of our committee reports. Does anyone else have anything else to report on that? No. Okay. Public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come up and speak? So please come forward, state your name. I think we.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me? Is the mic working?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Jack Rifkin. I live on 15 Glenridge Avenue, apartment 12, Montclair, New Jersey. I think you know 07042. Based on what I know, and I know I'm going to learn more as the meeting progresses, but I am opposing it. I do not believe that, based on what I read in the
comments
newspaper
on
article.
the application until.
I'm sorry, what are you opposing?
I'm opposing the bulldozing.
Oh, the demolition
proposal.
application?
Yes.
If you would wait a minute, this is public comment that talks about general historic preservation issues. Okay? But you'll get a chance to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Is there anyone else? Yes. Hello.
Nice to see everybody. My name is David Greenbaum, former Historic Preservation Commissioner and lifetime resident of Montclair, New Jersey. So I'm very excited that you guys are taking action on the master plan documents. I'm hoping that it's not a closed case at this point on your commission, because I'd like to offer some contribution for your consideration. I'll be sharing this with other land use boards as well. 10 years ago, I worked very closely on the master plan, 2016, among many of you, with many of you. And one thing was never completed that I had started, and that is the goal of creating design guidelines in our commercial districts and our historic districts in particular. It's very difficult to legislate good taste. It's very difficult to legislate sensible design. Having served in your role, I know how arduous and time-consuming it is, where you're placed in a very reactive situation to respond to applications where the applicants don't really have a starting point, any guidance. So what I'm proposing for all of you and for all of our land use boards is a tool that will vastly simplify the process that you engage in on your monthly meetings, and also to help the applicants be best prepared in advance of those application meetings. And the ultimate goal is to have much better outcomes. So I'm going to pass these around. I don't know if I have enough for everybody. Sure. I'm going to ask you to focus on pages 4 and 7. And this is a draft. Yeah. So what I'm endeavoring to do, and I'm very happy there's people in this room that actually don't know this, but they've contributed greatly to this document. And I will announce who those people are shortly. But basically what this does in 7 pages, of which page 4 and 7 are most critical to focus on this evening, is establishes a process of design guidelines and application requirements. So the basic idea is to provide an objective matrix of design objectives and requirements, a means by which the applicant will be prepared in advance, even at the earliest stages of their design development, to address very specific parameters that we as a community hold to be important, and we wish for all applications to consider each and every one of these various parameters and be able to intelligently articulate how they are responding to these objective requests. This should therefore become embedded into their design process, thus forcing the design process to bring about a result that brings about best practices. So, for example, on page 4, the design guidelines, objective compliance matrix, there's a listing of a variety of parameters that the applicant must address in preparation for their application and at the time of the application. There'll be a variety of key architectural concepts and planning concepts that they need to understand and be prepared to opine upon in front of you, the planning board, and a board of adjustment meeting or town council meeting. So on page 7, there are specific application and presentation requirements. So I'll just list a few of them. The applicant shall prepare statements and provide live visual demonstration integral to their testimony. They are to provide a coherence strategy. How is its design coherent? They have to present a correspondence strategy. How does this building, this renovation, this development correspond to the adjacent properties and the near adjacent properties in the neighborhood? They must provide and testify to an accuracy of scale and perspective. The applicant shall accurately present the building facades in actual verifiable scale viewed from the heights, and these are, I submitted these, but they can be adjusted. Viewed from the height of a 5'6" viewer, from a 25 feet in distance, 50 feet in distance, and from any corner within 200 feet away, with sight line of the building. This eliminates purposeful distortion that is commonly used when applicants come to present to the land use boards, whereas most of the land use people are not particularly adept at understanding what kind of distortions can be achieved in people's renderings and elevation drawings. This requires the applicant to testify and certify that their drawings represent a perspective from a height of a set established height and distance. So we have an accurate metric, an accurate representation for us to make, you guys, to make the most educated decisions. Quality of life contribution. They need to be able to make a statement of how the project will conceptually demonstrate visual consistency with the character of the streetscape and in terms of circulation, pedestrian and vehicular impact, and talking about overall quality of life, impact on natural light, fidelity to plan. Buildings are built that do not adhere to the plan that is approved. There needs to be clear sanctions and penalties for not building as presented and approved. For example, a certificate of occupancy should be withheld. There should be penalties for not building as presented. There should be guarantees of performance. Any amenity that is offered or any concession that is made or any kind of representation that is made, they must perform. They must be guaranteed performance. And there should be a clear demonstration in terms of facade and construction materials. All materials within the historic district must be certified for a durable performance of a minimum of 60 years. So those are just a few examples of things that are very specific as it relates to, in advance of the application process, will inform the applicant as to what is expected of them and what are they expected to answer for each one of these criteria. Then you have the benefit of the same matrix to evaluate. You have a very rational, objective means to evaluate the thought process and the materiality and the design parameters that are being presented, and there's a common basis of reference. So I share that with you. This is a draft. That means that I'm open to collaborate with any one of you or any committee. I think there's an opportunity here to bring intelligence and better outcomes and better design sensibility to the built environment of Montclair, not only new, but also preservation of existing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Greenbaum. I appreciate it, and I wish it had come to us a bit earlier because we're in the final stages. But as you know, being on the commission, we unless there's a certificate of occupancy, certificate of approval, C of A, we really, meaning the HPC, doesn't have the authority to tell people how to design. But we have a great, as you know, group of people up here that give really good advice. So in terms of advice, we can.
But the thing is if this is incorporated by ordinance into the application process, okay, that will alleviate you from being in a situation of having to react and respond to something that is inappropriate, and that you are in a better position to eliminate the constant revision and iteration because you end up having to design the project. By having this in advance of the application, this is a legislative, this is something that needs to be integrated into code as part of the process for an application to be submitted.
Exactly, right. Okay, thank you very much.
One last point I want to make. I have to give credit to a gentleman who's in the room here tonight, Ira Smith, who worked painstakingly back about 10 years ago on the Wellmont project in his area of redevelopment plan, which was done very thoughtfully. He came up with a tremendous amount of language and precedent and principles of which are incorporated here.
And I think you heard that I read one of the recommendations that we had was to, I don't have the list right now, but was to not create design guidelines, but be cognizant of design guidelines for redevelopment plans. So thank you very much for reinforcing that. Okay, is there anyone else here for public comment? No? Okay, so we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is 627 Valley Road, the wall-mounted sign for Clementina Restaurant. Is anyone here to speak to that? No? Oh, okay. So, well, we'll have to get in touch with them. Okay, so moving on, then we have application 2026-14, 6 to 12 Baldwin Avenue, MDZ Management. It's total demolition of 4 structures on property. And I did speak a bit about our demolition ordinance. And what we are following tonight is the current demolition ordinance. So make sure that we all remember that. I mean, we are talking about changing it, but tonight we have to be cognizant that it is the current demolition ordinance. And let me just reiterate the procedure that will be following. All witnesses will testify under oath. The applicant or his representative shall make an initial statement outlining the nature of the application. Then evidence shall be presented in the following order. I may give a reinstatement if the case of the applicant needs clarification. The applicant presents the evidence. The commission examines the applicant's witnesses. The objectors then cross-examine the applicant's witnesses. The objectors present evidence, and the commission examines objectors' witnesses. The applicant cross-examines objectors' witnesses. There is rebuttal by the objectors, the rebuttal by the applicant, and evidence by the commission's consultant or town attorney. Now, as you know, I don't think Mr. Smolin was introduced, but he is our HPC consultant, and he is the gentleman that wrote the report concerning this project. So we will start. I'll ask who is going to speak first for this applicant, and if you come up, and our attorney, Ms. Bauer.
Chair, if you don't mind, I'd just like to address, I don't believe it's a conflict after speaking with Ms. Bauer, but I do have a social relationship with one of the attorneys for the objectors. So, Ms. Bauer, is there anything I should say in advance of that, or should I?
To let counsel for the applicant know that. I asked him certain questions. He's just social friends, mostly through their kids, with the attorney, not the objector. Okay.
If it's acceptable, I'll sit for the hearing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, would you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, members of the commission and chairman. My name is Jonathan Clement. I represent the applicant, MDZ Management, the owner of the property.
Are you an attorney, Mr. Clement?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, so you don't have to be sworn in.
Right.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
Understood. This application, and I'll try and keep my comments brief and outline for you what we're going to do here. This application is seeking permission for the total demolition of 4 structures, 2 of which are connected, on the subject property in a 2-phase redevelopment plan. This project is different than many that might come before this commission. It's not an application by an outside developer who purchased the property and now seeks to clear it. This application is being made by a family that has owned this property for most of their adult life. Mary Ann and Nick Zecchino were born in Montclair. They founded Nicolo's Bakery almost 60 years ago, and they raised their families in the area, and they still own the land. Their family has operated the bakery on Baldwin Street for across 3 generations. The purpose of this application is to secure that potential use of the property for years to come, not to end it. The plan involves 2 phases. The first phase is the removal of a two-family structure and a concrete block garage behind it, and the construction of a new three-story residential facility designed to reflect the character of the district. Phase 2 would involve the removal of the existing mixed-use building on 6 Baldwin, which houses the bakery and 2 apartments above it. The one-story, it would also potentially reposition the entrance to the bakery onto the corner, but we'll go through all that in detail. As you know, the applicable standard for review is governed by section 347-142.1E3 of the town code. Under that section, the demolition application should be granted if the applicant demonstrates either the preservation of the structure is not warranted or the preservation would impose an undue burden. These are alternative grounds, of course, and we don't have to establish both. The proofs tonight will be directed in particular to the 7th factor of the ordinance, identifying to the extent to which the proposed replacement buildings would preserve and would not adversely affect the character of the neighborhood. We submit that the proofs that we're going to demonstrate tonight support approval of this application. We have reports that have been issued by the township's professionals. The town planner report of July 6th confirms that the application was complete and that we're properly before you, demonstrating that we've complied with both laying out the history of the project and the like. We've requested waivers of 3 items, and we'll address those through our professionals. The review by the Architectural Heritage Consultants dated July 2 contains a number of findings that support the application and several that cut the other way. We understand both of those positions are important, and we recognize that the property as a whole retains only a medium to low degree of historic architectural integrity, with materials and workmanships all rated low. The consultant concludes that the preservation of 6 Baldwin, which is the bakery, is not warranted. The consultant reaches a different conclusion with respect to 12 Baldwin, which is a somewhat run-down 2-family home. And we are seeking to replace that with a building that we believe fits in with the neighborhood and the look and would be much more functional and useful going forward rather than a rather old and tired 2-family home. Our witnesses will respond to each of the points raised by the professionals. We note that a number of them were suggestions, not outright criticisms, and we're happy to work with the board's professionals in accommodating the suggestions that were made. Our witness applicants tonight will be 2 expert witnesses. The first I would like to call, and it's a little unusual order, I've done this a lot of different ways, but I'd like to present Sean Delaney of Purdy Engineering initially. Mr. Purdy will kind of go over the site plan, the existing conditions, and the structure from an engineering perspective. And then the second witness will be Keith Gianakopoulous, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm trying hard to do that correctly, of Studio G2 Architects, who's prepared the architectural drawings and has worked with us to try and put together the package that addresses the various concerns raised by the professionals. He will address the planner's report and the architectural heritage review and respond to each of the issues raised therein. In addition, we have representatives of the family, and Mary Ann Zecchino would be available to provide a statement in support of this, speaking to both their personal involvement in the neighborhood, the area, something that's very dear to their heart. And if the commission grants us the opportunity to do so, she will kind of read in a statement and answer any questions they may have. From a global perspective, yes, it's a historic district, but what we're proposing here is consistent with that. We're not looking to do something that doesn't fit in the neighborhood. It's not just what's in a historic district, but when something goes in there, is it going to fit? And we believe that it will, and we believe our experts and testimony will show that what we're proposing will in fact enhance the neighborhood in 2 phases. And with that, unless you have any specific questions, I'd like to call my first witness, Mr. Delaney.
Before you begin, I would just like for you to clarify that your clients are the owners of the property.
That is correct.
Okay, Dominic and Marianne Zecchino are the owners of the property, the applicants.
No, Nicholas.
Nicholas, I'm sorry.
Nick-
Why did I
Nick
where did I
and
get that?
Marianne
Okay.
Zecchino.
Yes, okay.
Yes, and they're here tonight.
Okay, great. I just wanted to clarify that.
They own it in an LLC, but they're the
Right.
owners of the LLC.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Anything else?
What is the relationship with the engineer?
MDZ is an LLC owned by Marianne and Nick Zecchino.
Okay. It says MDZ Management, Inc. Is that a different?
Excuse me?
I'm just going off of what I...
It's MDZ Management, LLC is
All
the
right.
owner of the property,
Okay,
and that entity is owned by Nick and Marianne Zecchino.
okay.
Mr. Delaney?
Just have to press the push button.
Okay, if you would just identify yourself and your relationship to the project, please.
Absolutely. My name is Sean Delaney. I'm a partner with Petrie Engineering, and I'm serving as the project engineer for this project.
Okay, and Ms. Bauer will swear you in now.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide on this application to the commission tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you're licensed in New Jersey?
I am, yes.
And your license is active?
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
Mr. Delaney, could you, before providing your testimony regarding this project, could you please outline your credentials and education and background for the board?
Absolutely. So as I said, my name is Sean Delaney. I'm a partner with Petrie Engineering, located in Fairfield, New Jersey. I've been with the firm for just over 9 years now, during which time I've had the opportunity to work on various infrastructure improvement projects and site plans, both in Montclair and within the surrounding area of Essex County and beyond. I graduated from NJIT in 2017 with my bachelor's in civil engineering. I also graduated from Rutgers in 2023 with my MBA. And I'm a licensed professional in the state as both an engineer and a planner, although tonight I'm only testifying as an engineer.
Thank you.
I would ask that this witness be accepted as an expert witness for purposes of this hearing.
So my goal this evening is just to provide a brief overview for the board of the project. Sorry, I was going to close this sheet. Thank you. So as I said, my goal this evening is just to provide a brief overview of the project, the existing conditions, and the proposed improvements. I don't plan on getting into any super technical engineering stuff this evening, just keeping it very brief for the board. So the plan that we're looking at here this evening is our existing conditions and our demolition plan that was previously submitted. So just to orient the board, Baldwin Street runs parallel at the bottom of the page in an east-west direction, and Glenridge Avenue runs on the left side of the page in a north-south direction. The subject property is designated as tax lot 4.01 in block 4,211, and it's more commonly known as 6 through 12 Baldwin Street. The property is irregularly shaped, as we can see here on the screen, and it's a corner lot. It has approximately 50 feet of frontage along Glenridge Avenue on that left-hand side, and approximately 168 linear feet of frontage along Baldwin Street. There are two principal structures on the property today, one of which is the bakery and the other which is a two-family dwelling. The bakery itself is located toward and it's kind of hard to see on this projection, but the bakery is on the west side of the site, located at the corner of Glenridge Avenue and Baldwin Street. And that two-family dwelling, which is designated as address of 12 Baldwin Street, is along that eastern property line. There's an existing masonry garage located in the northeast corner of the site, tucked pretty much up against that rear and side property line. The remainder of the property is virtually all impervious surface, with a large parking lot between the bakery and the existing two-family. And then toward the west of the bakery and along the Glenridge Avenue frontage is a loading area and parking area just in front of the bakery. Going over to sheet SP 3.0 in our set, this is our layout plan. And what we're proposing to do this evening is to construct a brand-new bakery and multifamily building on the property to enable generations to enjoy this property to come. The bakery is going to be located, again, at the corner of the property of Glenridge Avenue and Baldwin Street. It's going to occupy generally the same footprint as the existing bakery, although it is going to be slid closer to Glenridge Avenue to provide a little bit more of a meaningful streetscape. A new 9-unit multifamily building is proposed along the eastern property line, and that, again, that's also going to follow the same general footprint of that existing 2-family dwelling and that masonry garage in the back. The front entrance to the bakery is going to be placed at the corner to create a more inviting entrance to not only the site, but to the streetscape as well and to the bakery. To the east of the bakery is going to be the new 15-foot wide service drive to provide for loading and deliveries through a loading door toward the back. And this was placed on the eastern side of the building to allow it to be screened from Glenridge Avenue. As I mentioned before, all of the loading operations currently happen along Glenridge Avenue, and by tucking it into this service driveway, we'll be able to pull it off and screen it from the public view better. We're also going to be providing a series of landscaping along that eastern side of that driveway to help block the view from Baldwin Street. To service the new bakery and the residential building, we're proposing to construct a new parking lot between the two with a total of 21 parking spaces. This parking lot will be completely reconstructed and will include all new pavement, curbing, lighting, and landscaping. Several of the spaces will actually be underneath the proposed multi-story building as well. At the rear of the parking lot, we're going to be proposing a new refuse enclosure, which will be fully screened on all sides, again, to prevent any kind of view into the enclosure. In addition to the improvements on site, we're proposing all new streetscape along both the frontage of Baldwin Street and Glenridge Avenue. So the streetscape is going to include all new curbing, all new sidewalks, a brick inlay between the sidewalks and the curbing, and new shade trees where necessary. One of the interesting things about this application is that we're proposing to construct it in 2 distinct phases. So phase 1 is going to be the right half, so the eastern half of the development, which will be that multifamily residential building, the parking lot, the ADA spaces, and that streetscape frontage along that portion of it. Phase 2 would be the construction of the bakery and all of the streetscape improvements that go along with that.
If it's acceptable at this point, unless you have specifics on the site structure, I'd like to present our second witness, and then both will be available for questions from the board.
I just have one question. One of the documents had suggested that the bakery would be moved on the property. I wanted to know if that was the plan for phase 2.
Part of phase 2 is repositioning a brand-new bakery facility with 2 units up. Right now, it's a rather large.
No, I understand that. It seemed to indicate that the current bakery was to be removed. Is that
So the bakery is going to, yes, the existing
misunderstanding?
building will be demolished.
It will be demolished?
the
Okay.
architect will
I just
speak
wanted to be
about
clear,
that.
because there
Yeah.
have been buildings that we've seen moved in the past. I wasn't sure if...
It won't be slid. The benefit of the phasing is that the existing bakery will remain operational.
I think it's a reposition, but I think I understand what you mean now. You mean the new building will reposition the bakery?
Exactly.
Okay, so, and that building will be demolished, understood.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that building wouldn't be demolished until phase 2. So
Okay.
during phase 1, that building would still be able to be used and occupied.
Okay, thank you.
If it's acceptable to the commission, I'd like to call Mr. Keith Gianakopoulous.
It's green, it's on.
Copies of these handouts were submitted, and
They were submitted previously?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't included in the packet that we mailed, so I think we should mark it Exhibit A1.
Yes, okay.
Definitely.
I know I'm not sworn in yet, but 4 of the sheets are identical. It's just 2 additional sheets.
We'll just,
Or more for clarification than anything else. Just
I have
Oh,
one.
you have?
Thanks.
Before-
Okay, Mr. Gianakopoulous, hi. If you could, I just identify yourself and your relationship to the project.
Sure. My name is Keith Gianakopoulous. I'm a registered architect in the state of New Jersey. I've been an architect for 30 years. Got my license in 1996. Education, Pratt Institute, Bachelor of Architecture. And I've worked with the Zecchinos on multiple projects in Montclair, specifically on this site, previous applications.
Thank you. And Ms. Bauer will swear you in now.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide on the application of the commission tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
I would offer him as an expert witness.
I think that would be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wasn't for them to reposition this building somewhere on the structure, that they just need to make it function. I get that.
Okay. As some of the information that I will be testifying will be slightly repetitive to what Mr. Delaney testified to, but the site is located at the southwest corner of Pine Street, and I included a zoning map with this additional sheet to kind of give an idea to the board where the building is located with relation to the rest of the neighborhood. So it's framed by 3-story masonry multifamily buildings on the north and east, and then across the street to the south and diagonally across, we have larger multifamily buildings that are on the opposite side of Glen Ridge and Baldwin Streets. Specifically talking tonight about the Pine Street Historic District, the nomination report from 2005, the buildings in the district were assessed and provided with a classification status. I'm sure you all are aware of the hierarchy. There are 5 classifications, beginning with key, being the possesses the most distinct architectural and historical significance. Then we have contributing, harmonizing, altered, and intrusion. So as an example, at the 2 ends of the spectrum, we have Our Lady of Mount Carmel, which would be a key designation, and the Domino's Pizza building would be an intrusion. So 6 Baldwin Street, the bakery, which is an established and valued local presence, started by the Zecchinos, dates to the 1930s and was categorized as harmonizing altered. The building reflects an incremental and largely functional evolution, combining early wood frame residential structure, which is that 3-story section on the right side, with subsequent commercial adaptations and additions. Over time, the building has undergone extensive modifications, including the introduction of masonry storefront, granite tile finishes, non-historic modifications, including the masonry, I'm sorry, I got a little backed up, and altered window configurations and commercial signage. A 1-story masonry addition and paved service areas further detract from what is remaining historical character and architectural integrity. So while the structure may have origins in the early development of the district, its current condition reflects a series of piecemeal interventions driven by the need rather than architectural continuity. As such, its ability to meaningfully contribute to the historic district has been compromised. 12 Baldwin Street, the two-family house, dates to the early 1900s and was identified as contributing. But we see it is no longer seemingly appropriately placed in the NC zone. One of the reasons I included the zoning map is to illustrate the pink areas are the NC zone, the brown areas are R4 zoning, which is multifamily. So in my original statement that we are kind of bookended by multifamily buildings and commercial on the north end, that kind of illustrates that point. So this two-family house was originally a single-family residence, and it has been converted to the two-family, including the addition of a second entry and a contemporary porch. The building has gone untypical material replacements, including the asbestos cement shingles, aluminum trim, vinyl siding, vinyl doors, railings, and which none of them really reflect any remaining historic detail. The structure lacks the defining architectural features or craftsmanship and is subsumed by pavement, as Mr. Delaney mentioned, with minimal landscape context. A single-story, nondescript masonry block garage in the rear, which was modified, I believe, 10 years ago with a prior application that we put in front of the board, and just leans toward a more, modified building and overall character. So my main point in talking about the zoning and the location and the adjacent zones really is that there are other modest wood frame buildings in the zone. Many of them documented by HABs, and we can look them up and see what the historic fabric really is for these structures. But they're located more up on Sherman and on Grant Streets. So if you look up on the zoning map, those are the yellow areas. And our site is down at the bottom there, the hatched area where it says select property. So it kind of gives you an idea that there are these types of structures in the zone, but they are a little removed off the main thoroughfares.
This structure's been there since about 1890, though, right?
So there are conflicting dates. I know Mr. Smolin had certain dates. Ms. Kazmi had certain dates, and those were the dates that we found. There were other buildings on the site, and different shapes in the maps that Mr. Smolin presented kind of suggest that they were buildings that were taken away and new buildings were built. So 1930 for that one was what we found, and early 1900s for the bakery itself. So both really in the early 1900s. And this is the historic time period for this zone, this district. So we understand that these buildings are old and are historic in that district setting. But given that they've had so many changes over the years, we see that the buildings as a whole no longer reflect architectural qualities or urban patterns that the historic district is intended to preserve. So with the proposed design, again, some of this will be a little bit of a repeat from Mr. Delaney, but our approach to the redevelopment, we sought to respect the overall intent of the Pine Street Historic District and acknowledging and reinforcing the current NC zoning. So that NC is neighborhood commercial, which is mixed use, and the multifamily adjacent, as I mentioned. The new design introduces the two new buildings that establish a more cohesive and appropriate presence for both Glenridge Avenue and Baldwin. The architecture draws from the scale, proportion, and rhythm of the surrounding district, which, as I mentioned prior, are 2- and 3-story masonry multifamily buildings, using materials such as brick, cast stone, along with simplified interpretations of traditional design elements, including lintels, sills, piers, arches, cornices, but without intricate details and dentils. Rather than replicating specific historic styles, our design takes cues from the neighborhood, Renaissance Revival, Italianate, Classical Revival buildings, translating those elements into a restrained and contemporary expression. Double-hung window groupings and vertical proportions reinforce the established rhythm of the streetscape, while elements such as the metal roofing, gooseneck lighting, and the new canopies provide subtle enhancements without distracting from the overall context. So, as Mr. Delaney mentioned, Phase 1 of the project replaces 12 Baldwin Street, which is the two-family house, with a 3-story, 9-unit residential building meeting density requirements and affordable housing expectations. The ground level includes one 2-bedroom unit and parking located at the rear beneath the structure. One space is actually enclosed. The 2 upper floors each contain a mix of 3 2-bedroom units and 1 1-bedroom unit. The building includes an elevator, basement level laundry, tenant storage, and on all amenities. The ground floor unit is designed to be ADA accessible as required by code. I think it's pretty clear that the existing structure is not ADA accessible. The total building area is 10,844 square feet. So Phase 2 reimagines the bakery, as Mr. Graham had inquired before. So in the reimagining of the bakery, we're relocating the entire building to the corner of the site, strengthening both the Baldwin Street and the Glenridge Avenue frontages. The new building expands the bakery at the ground level and provides 2 2-bedroom residential units above, along with office space that we have for the bakery use below. The relocation allows the bakery to remain in the neighborhood while significantly improving its visibility and architectural presence. The main focus in the design is the new entrance, which is a chamfered corner. It includes an accessible ramp, stronger and more welcoming approach to the building. We have a canopy, stairs, and at the same time, we've moved the service and delivery entrances away from the prominent corner. Right now, those services are on Glenridge Avenue, right at the corner, and I believe the trucks, the delivery trucks, are parked right on the corner there. We switched. Okay. As you can see, right over here, the corner of the street is where the delivery trucks are parked.
Would you mind using the handheld mic?
Yeah, I won't go back.
Okay, thank you.
But I'll keep it just in case. Let's see. Okay. So the movement of the delivery entrance and the trucks improves pedestrian safety and recenters the focus and the entrance to the building and the massing to the corner of the street. The resulting streetscapes on Baldwin and Greenridge are illustrated on the next sheets, 3 and 4. So on sheet P3, we see the Baldwin street elevation. And the idea here on these street elevations, when we presented another project on Bay Street, well, way back, providing a street elevation really gives the viewer the idea of scale with the adjoining buildings. So to the right of our site, we have a 2-story residential building, and then to the left, we have a pair of 3-story residential buildings. So the final slide here is an example of our existing photo that I pointed out before, in contrast to what the new design would look like in our renderings. So that's pretty much my summary of the project. I'd like to address the pathway number 1, which is the pathway that we're choosing here to explore and list the 7 items to prove that what we're proposing complies with the Montclair Code 374-121E3.
Are you referring to the items that are on the application?
Yes, well, they're on the planner's report, and it's a 7-item article.
Okay. Well, before you do that, why don't, based on your testimony
Yeah.
and the other gentleman, maybe the commissioners would have questions of both of you, okay?
Oh, sure, I just have, just the proofs, and then, that's fine.
Okay. So, would you like to start, Mr. Brown?
Was there any attempt made to see what materials are under the aluminum siding at 6 Baldwin?
We haven't done any destructive probes as of yet, no.
Okay. Are there potentially brick under there?
Under the 2-family, probably not.
Under the 6 Baldwin, the bakery?
Again, probably not, because it started life out as a 3-story residential, probably had clapboards, so.
Could there be other original materials under the siding?
There could be, yes.
Okay.
We wouldn't know until we did destructive probes.
Okay. Thank you. That's it for the moment.
Mr. Remnant?
What are the uses on the different floor? What are the uses on the different floors of these buildings?
So we have 2 buildings. The right side building is the apartment building. Those are 9 residential apartments. And the building on the left is the bakery with 2 2-bedroom units above and an office space for the bakery to use.
The current structure has 2 units above the bakery as well. So there's no increase there in the number.
There's no increase in the bakery building. The 2-family goes from 2-family to 9 units, which is within the density that is allowed in Montclair. And again, as I mentioned, code compliant, ADA accessible, and all that.
I don't have any other questions at the moment.
Mr. Rooney?
I don't really have any questions at this point, no.
Ms. Floyd?
I
only have one quick question in reference to the corner where the delivery trucks are. I know that you're using the 21 parking spaces. Does that include for, in the rendering here, it just looks like there's one level for the parking for the units. So is that including both buildings, the parking, once you remove that from the corner?
It is one level. For the parking, I would defer to Mr. Delaney.
Absolutely, Yeah, so the parking is all at one level, so the parking underneath the building will be accessed by way of the proposed drive aisle, which with that same drive aisle up the center of the site will then access the spaces along the left-hand side or the westerly side of that parking. And it would be, the idea here is that it's a shared parking.
Right.
So in the evening, the tenants would come home, use that parking. During the day, the same parking would be utilized for the bakery. As
And
well
the
as-
delivery trucks are, there's enough for the, because you're removing the spot for the delivery trucks in that area.
Yeah, so the deliveries actually have their own dedicated space.
Okay, that's what I
just to the
wanted
east
to
of the
know.
building.
Perfect, thank you. That's it, thank you.
Mr. Giuliano?
One at the moment. I'm curious where you got the design for the sloped roof from on the corner building. Is there another building in the area that you're looking at to mimic, or is there a reason you didn't just go flat?
So that's a two-phase kind of idea process, starting first with the massing of the building and creating the vertical bays, which translate down to the storefront, and knowing that would all be brick, and knowing we only wanted 2 stories. So the bakery is an elevated 2 stories. I think it's 15 feet, the ceiling. And then the apartment above, the 2 apartments above, are an 8-foot ceiling. So the building looked fairly dwarfed against the 2 3-story buildings on the left and the new building we're proposing on the right. So the idea was to create that additional vertical height and massing to make the design a little nicer.
But you don't need the slope for anything interior with the plan. It's just
Not
for-
interior, so that slope exists along both street faces, and then behind, there's an elevated section where the kitchen is below.
Okay.
So the roof below is flat, but the front area has the hip roof.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. It looks as though you've increased the interior space of what you're calling the bakery. Have you? Is it becoming a bakery/restaurant?
So my client is the building owner, and he currently has, and I can let him speak to this, but he does currently have a lease with the bakery that exists there now. We're providing the space for the bakery. We're not doing any layouts inside for the bakery at this point. This is just the exterior to get the exterior approved.
Oh, I'm just wondering about all the windows that you have here. I mean, are those conducive to being a bakery? It
So the
looks more like a
idea
restaurant.
was to give it more of a street facade and introduce and create more visual communication from the street into the bakery. Currently, if you've gone into the bakery, you see that you go in and you kind of get lost. You don't really have any perception of the outside. So the idea is that from the street view, you can see what's transpiring inside the building, and that draws your attention and brings you in.
But a bakery, there are places where ovens are and where the trays are, and I've been in that bakery.
Right.
So
Yes.
is this becoming like a experience where you watch like a chef's table where you watch the people in the kitchen cook?
It would be nice. It would be nice. I don't really have any knowledge of that. My goal was to provide the nicest building for them to work with in the new design of the bakery. Whether that has an open kitchen or it's closed off, that's not really on the drawing board right now.
So maybe I'll ask another question. In your experience, have you ever seen a bakery like that? where
Uh,
everything is exposed? mean,
I
even
have,
cl-
yeah.
Oh, you have?
Not too far from here. I don't want to, they're your competition, so I wouldn't, you know,
Calandras?
want to,
Yeah,
but
that's exactly
it.
I
Calandras,
believe
yeah.
it's Calandras.
Yeah.
It's in a shopping mall center, and their whole face of their building, you can see in, you can see,
And I agree with you. I know that, I know that bakery
Yeah.
as well, but that's a restaurant. So I'm just wondering where the actual bakery part's going to take,
well, the
where
one
they
that.
bake the bread and the cookies.
The one that
and
I'm referencing is not the restaurant. The restaurant is at a different location.
Oh,
You'd have to be
you-
sworn
will
in,
you-
sir. You'd have to
You
be
have,
sworn in,
you
sir.
have, you have to, you have to identify, you need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project.
Well, I'm Nick Zecchino the third, and that's
Okay.
my mom and dad. And I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
On the application to the commission, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
I didn't mean to jump in, but he was struggling a little bit.
Well, it's.
And I worked with him, I'm sorry, I'm not loud enough. This is the actual baking area with the high ceiling where the ovens would be. This back wall is brick,
We did stucco
masonry,
on the lot
right.
line walls and brick on the walls facing the street.
These windows here would either be looking in on, this would be mostly store in this design. But like he said, we're just the owners of the property. The bakery owner would have to decide how he wanted to lay out the inside of the bakery. But we laid it out so that there's ample space for configurations that can be changed.
So that part where the bakery, is that open, does that go up 2 stories?
Yes, ma'am.
So then
There's
that
no
L-shaped,
apartments.
It's, I'm sorry, Nick, it's 1.5 stories, so the front of the building with the hip roof
right?
is a full 2 stories. The back part that's behind the dashed line, that's the kitchen. It has a taller ceiling, but it's not a full 2 stories. It's a taller ceiling for the kitchen, but above it's a flat roof behind the roof that is in the front.
That makes sense, but it looks like that L shape, that is quite a bit larger than what's there currently. So I'm just wondering, it's going to be more than a store, more than a...
It is an increase in square footage. Originally, the idea was to let the bakery have additional equipment, additional production ability, but I would let...
We really can't speak to exactly how our tenant would set things up. So we provided the building and the space with options to set things up the way the bakery thought that they would want to set it up in the future. Okay?
All right. Any other questions from?
One question. What's the footprint of this building versus the footprint of the other building that you're showing on the site? Do you know?
I know the overall square footage. I don't have the footprint handy. Mr. Delaney, do you have that?
So you're asking for the footprint of the bakery building compared to the 9-unit building?
No, you're proposing 2 different structures, I heard,
Correct.
right? What's the different footprint of both of those structures?
So the bakery building is going to have a footprint of 4,500 square feet, and the multi-unit building will have a footprint of 4,200 square feet, so comparable in size to each other.
Were there any design options where you kept, it sounds like the footprint of both buildings are the same. So if you're trying to build 3 or 2 floors of apartments or 9 units in the second building, you could add 4,000 square feet, another floor on top of this building. Is that correct?
On top of the bakery building?
Yep.
You
Aren't you proposing apartments in there?
We have 2 apartments
Yeah,
up there,
okay.
yes. In theory, yes, you could. The design idea was to not have a 36-foot-high wall in that location because it's at the corner of the property. So our wall goes up 2 stories in the front, and then we have the hip roof, which breaks that visually, so it's not such an imposing structure at the corner of the intersection.
Okay. I'm not going to get into design, but there's always a setting things back and so on. But were there any design studies where you potentially kept the 2 apartment number 12 and pushed everything, the other 9 units into the back?
So initially, when we started the project, before we did our evaluation, historic evaluation of the building and what historic material was left, what fabric existed, it was a discussion. But once we took a look at the existing building, we determined that there wasn't the historic value of the actual structure with regard to moldings, details, historic type elements.
But it's not just those elements, right? So Mr. Smollen's report indicates, let me just bear with me. Here we go. By 1933, it shows, the maps show a frame structure with a 1-story front porch, right? Which generally corresponds to the existing 2.5-story globe roofed
Right.
dwelling, right? So it's also the context that matters.
It is the context.
And would you say that, the building that's currently there reflects, at least since 1933, the building that existed there?
The general, I believe Mr. Smollen mentioned in his report, the general gable-fronted massing, yes. What I found in doing my research is that building is kind of out of place because it's a 2-family house in a multifamily zone.
But that's also an eclectic neighborhood, right? The building's not just in the yellow area that you pointed out. I mean, down the road, there's a home with a built-out front portion of it. I mean, there's just
There are
several
a few
different
outliers.
types. There's
yes,
few outliers all
on
throughout that
Greenwich,
street.
I mean, on Glenridge.
Yeah.
The Domino's building, as I mentioned, there are outliers, but generally in this location, we feel that the new design is way better suited for this location.
Would you please address the other issues in Mr. Smollen's report?
Yeah, before we get into that, I have a question. If you want to go into that as part of the address of Mr. Smollen's report, that's fine, because it's item B. But what is the need for this project?
Mr. Zecchino came to us with the idea that the property was underutilized and wanted to develop the property further and create something that would be nice for the town and really look like it was there a long time and be there for a long time. So the direction that we received from Mr. Zecchino was, I want it to be nice, I want it to be brick, and based on our prior experience together, we did the project at, I forget the exact address, but it's the Bay Street townhouses. So those Bay Street townhouses, again, were presented to the board for approval back when we did that, and it was the same exact language that he presented to us. I want to do something nice for the neighborhood, and I want to develop the property.
Do you have any other questions, Ms. Bauer?
Well, so I'm not sure that addresses the need for the project, that describes the project. I think what is intended by item B is, why do you need to demolish in order to accomplish your project? And if everybody just wanted to build something new, then we wouldn't even need the rest of the criteria either. It would be executing, so to speak.
Right, so when we looked at the Montclair code in the total demolition of a building section, we chose pathway 1, which we're showing that if the building is devoid of any architectural significance with regard to the detailing, the materials, that's one of the paths that we can choose to take to demolish a building. The items that you mentioned about the feasibility of restoring it, or as Mr. Smolin had pointed out, relocating, we did not go down that path because we felt that we had enough on the pathway number 1 to demonstrate the removal of the buildings.
So you're describing with that statement number 6 and number 12, Baldwin?
Yes.
Okay.
And as Mr. Smolin mentioned, number 6 Baldwin being labeled as harmonizing altered, recommended that is acceptable to be removed. It is our position that the same applies for the two-family house.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the commissioners? So maybe we should go over Mr. Smolin's report,
going
and
to-
then we'll have
Are you going to go through those?
questions from the objectors.
Is it possible maybe if I just ask a few more questions?
Sure.
Just to clarify and get a bit of a more complete record here? I'd like to talk about the application waivers first, I think. There's a few items that weren't submitted in the original application nor the subsequent follow-ups. So the first, and I think most important, is item C in the required contents of an application for total demolition, and this relates to the feasibility of preservation and alternatives to demolition that were considered.
So, again, I'll restate, we chose pathway 1, which would not include these items. Subsequent to receiving your memo, we did do a little homework and due diligence and research that path as well.
I'm not talking about the proof pathways. I'm up at the required contents of an application.
Right, we requested a waiver for that because it is not part of the pathway number 1. Pathway number 2, where it calls for an undue hardship and structural instability and salvaging the building, that, as I understood it, is pathway 2, which we're concentrating on pathway 1, where the items in pathway 1, the 7 items in the code, we feel we meet all those requirements.
What is the estimated cost and timing of restoration or rehabilitation of the building to allow for its reasonable use?
Okay, so again, this is pathway 2, which we did not investigate until we received your letter. And we did a cost estimate, and we're just over $800,000 to restore the two-family building to historic quality.
The two-family being 6 Baldwin or 12 Baldwin?
12 Baldwin.
12 Baldwin.
Yeah.
And the timing of that?
The timing, it depends on, contractors and schedules, but within 9 months to a year, it could be demolished and rebuilt.
I don't think that was the question. I was asking about restoration or rehabilitation. Is that the cost estimate you procured, or
Yes,
something different?
and when I say rebuilt, everything but the bones. So the existing structure remains, but the skin, the sheathing, the flooring, interiors, ceilings, roofing, that all gets replaced with historic materials.
Was this more detail on this estimate submitted to the commission at any point?
We have not submitted it, as we didn't believe that we were on that path and we wouldn't need to prove that. We have a cost estimate, but our opinion is that that path, salvaging, restoring, was not the path that we chose to go down.
Do you have any evidence of good faith offers of the historic building that did not exceed reasonable and comparable value to people willing to relocate or rehabilitate the building?
So Mr. Zecchino reached out to a Realtor and can testify to that aspect of it. Since we received your report, we looked at relocating the building, and we looked at sale of the building. The sale of the building is a little more complicated because it is on the same lot as the bakery building.
Did you do any reasonable and comparable price analyses?
Comparable to
comparable in terms of recent appraisals or sales of buildings of similar in location, character, and condition?
I believe Mr. Zecchino said there were no other buildings in this area, but again, he can testify to that when we get a chance to talk to him.
Okay, so that was really just point C of the application materials.
Right.
I would, unless Ms. Bauer disagrees, recommend the HPC have a discussion about whether or not a waiver should be granted or if additional information is necessary for that point.
Well, that's what, we have to discuss that as well. The waiver for what Mr. Smolin has just talked about. But at this point, I thought maybe we should discuss that now or go over the rest of the...
It's up to you when you want to vote on the waiver.
Okay.
If you want to hear more testimony, you can do that.
I think maybe it might be beneficial to hear more testimony.
Fine.
Okay. So I'll just continue with questions now related to the salvage plan, which is point F of the required contents of an application for total demolition. Was any preservation or salvage plan of 12 Baldwin contemplated?
I think I responded to Mr. Graham on this point. There have not been any destructive probes done to this point. So the material that's there, the aluminum, the asbestos siding, that all may have replaced any historic material or maybe covering up historic material. So as far as the salvage plan goes, it could be put into a condition of our approval that we include a salvage plan on our demolition drawings that instructs the contractor to stop work if anything is found that is historically significant.
Are you speaking of number 12 now?
We're on C.
Right. No,
Yeah.
we're on, I thought we were on
I'm
F.
sorry, we're reviewing Mr. Smolin's report.
Point C of my report, which relates to point F of the ordinance.
Okay.
Sorry, that's confusing. Okay, so then can you walk through the preservation criteria in a little bit more detail for both of the properties?
So, in our opinion, there is no preservation criteria because, as I mentioned before, we're choosing Pathway 1, which says that we're demonstrating there is no significant historical material on the building, so we're not looking to preserve it, either building.
You're making a statement that the structure's historic characteristics do not warrant its preservation.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm just asking for the 7 points that come after that, the factors, just be described to the commission in more detail.
So are you talking about the evaluation of integrity?
In the planner report?
It would
The
start
planning
with,
report, page 9.
starting with historical, architectural, cultural, and aesthetic significance.
So this section of the report is exactly what I was referring to earlier. Before we stopped my testimony, that's the section that I was looking to address, that there are 7 items on the review criteria for total demolition. So this is not preservation, this is demolition. So these 7 points we have reviewed, and we have a statement for each one. Would you like to hear that now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 1, historical, architectural, cultural, and aesthetic significance. Although the existing buildings reflect the layered history of the site, extensive alterations have substantially diminished their historic architectural and aesthetic integrity and their ability to meaningfully contribute to the historic district. So that's what I was mentioning earlier. Item number 2, use and feasibility of continued use. The existing uses can be more appropriately accommodated within the proposed redevelopment, including the continued presence and expansion of the bakery and the replacement of the existing 2-family house with new code-compliant construction. Number 3, importance to the township and public interest. The existing structures do not meaningfully define or reinforce this prominent corner of the historic district, while the replacement provides greater housing, improved streetscape conditions, and a more appropriate development pattern for the site. Number 4, age, design, craftsmanship, texture, and materials. Despite their age, again, neither building possesses unusual design, craftsmanship, materials, or defining architectural features that would make its reproduction difficult or warrant preservation. Number 5, public, economic, and cultural benefit of retention. The retention of the existing structures would provide limited additional historic or cultural benefit, while the proposed redevelopment supports a long-standing business, introduces additional housing, meeting affordable expectations, and provides new code-compliant construction for the township and public good. Number 6 is the impact and character on the ambiance of the historic district. Removal of the existing structures will not adversely affect the character or ambiance of the historic district. The proposed buildings establish a more appropriate street presence and reinforce the architectural language within the surrounding neighborhood. And the final point, number 7, effect of the replacement buildings on neighborhood character. We believe the proposed buildings preserve and strengthen the character of the neighborhood through their massing materials, proportions, traditional architectural references, and improved relationship to both Baldwin Street and Glenridge Avenue.
With that said, though, why would a survey which nominated this district to the National Register in 2000 and then a follow-up survey conducted by the township in 2005 both find that 12 Baldwin Street is a contributing structure?
I believe that in the last 20 years, that contributing structure had material removed and new material put on that creates a different value than what is listed. The bakery building itself, being such a hodgepodge, is only one step higher in their categorization, calling it harmonized altered. So, my opinion is that, as I testified, there is not enough historic material in the building to warrant preservation.
But focusing on 12 Baldwin Street, which has a picture included in the 2005 survey, it appears substantially similar to its condition today. What material or significant alterations do you believe have occurred in the last 21 years?
I cannot testify to that. I can only tell you that the photograph in the write-up is it Thorke? Is a grainy black and white photograph. So I don't believe it's a true test to. Did I lose it? To its condition, and as I mentioned, my opinion is that it does not have the historic texture and fabric of a historic structure.
What was the basis for the statement, though, that you made a short while ago that it's undergone a significant loss of material since it was surveyed last in 2005 as a contributing structure?
Again, just visual inspection today, what I see in the structure today. Mr. Zecchino has additional information on the condition of the building that he'd like to add.
Post 2005, we replaced a rotten wood deck and the front porch, and we replaced it with a vinyl, which doesn't do anything any good. It just looks good from the street, but it's vinyl, a vinyl deck with the railing is vinyl, the covering is aluminum siding, and the outside shingles were there when we purchased the property, and I believe that there's asbestos shingles that we would like to get rid of. Underneath the asbestos shingles, where they've broken off, is plywood with Turbec wrap, the Tribec wrap underneath there. So unless there's brick underneath that, there's nothing there except for plywood and Tyvek wrap underneath the asbestos shingles.
Sure. So sticking with 12 Baldwin Street for a moment, I'm going to parse through the write-up of the property in the National Register of Historic Places nomination from 2000, and just ask you to confirm if this has changed or been altered since then. A 2 1/2 story rectangular plan frame house. Is 12 Baldwin Street still a 2 1/2 story frame house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gable-ended roof sided with gray asbestos shingles.
Yes, sir.
A shed roof porch with wooden balustrade extending across the front of the house at the first story.
Well, the wood was rotted and removed.
And replaced with?
Plastic.
Composite or
Yeah,
vinyl
it's
material?
like a vinyl,
Okay.
plastic railing and balustrades.
The shed roof of the porch, though, remains intact.
It remains the same shape, but it's not the same material. I think we replaced all the ends underneath with aluminum or plastic, whatever they put in today.
Sorry, is
That
the
was all-
microphone on? I just want to make sure.
It was all replaced, I'm
Thank you.
sorry.
Windows arranged singularly or 1/1 double hung sash. Have any windows been replaced, removed, added since 2005?
No.
Okay. Do you want me to go over the rest of my report at this time?
You might
or-
as well, and then we'll
Okay.
open it up to objectors' questions.
Okay. So I'll just summarize a few points from my report dated July 2nd that we haven't touched on yet already. The property is located in the Pine Street Historic District. It's composed of the two primary buildings, the substantially altered non-contributing 6 Baldwin Street Bakery building, and the contributing 12 Baldwin Street building. Both of these buildings were present during the Historic District's period of significance, which spans from the 1880s to approximately 1937. Overall, kind of averaged between those two, those properties retain a medium to low degree of historic integrity, 6 Baldwin Street being low, I would say, and 12 Baldwin Street being medium. I go through that in my report point by point for how I came up with that finding. Overall, though, preservation of 6 Baldwin Street I do not believe is warranted. I agree with the applicant. It has been extensively altered. It's lost much of its historic integrity and at this point is really unable to convey any form of historic significance. Given the historic Sanborn maps, I do believe there is probably brick underneath that siding, based on specifically what you see in the map from 1933. 12 Baldwin Street, the gable-fronted home. On the other hand, I do believe preservation is warranted at that. I believe it remains a contributing historic resource to the district. I don't believe we've heard of any substantial alterations beyond the balustrade and possibly the porch roof having been altered since it was surveyed in 2000 and 2005. Overall, I think the case being made for demolition is not adequately substantiated or complete at this point, particularly for 12 Baldwin Street. I don't believe hardship has been demonstrated here, that the preservation of 12 Baldwin Street presents a substantial encumbrance on the applicant. And overall, I don't believe the commission should support demolition of the 12 Baldwin Street structure. I think at this point, I'll just pause before going into comments on the replacement structure, just so we can tackle the demolition first.
Okay. So at this point, is there any other witness that you would like to call? Otherwise, we're going to open it up to objectors' questions. No. Yes, no?
Yeah, I think it would be better to ask the questions of the professionals now rather than have Mrs. Zecchino testify at this juncture.
Okay, so we'll open it up to questions from objectors.
Yes, please.
Okay. Is there anybody here for as an objector? If you'd come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name is Roy J. Thibodaux. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Berkowitz, Lichstein, Koritsky, Giasulo, and Gross in Roseland. I'm here representing an objector, that is Nicolo's Bakery, who is objecting to this application. I just have a few brief questions for the witnesses that were provided by the applicant here. And I can start with Mr. Gianakopoulous, since you're nearby. Good evening, sir. How are you? Good. Just so I'm clear, you referred to Mr. Zecchino several times. Who were you talking about?
When I originally started to work with Nick, it was his dad and himself. But most of my communication is directly with Nick.
That being the Nicholas III
I'm
who
sorry.
testified here today?
Yeah, the gentleman that was up here now, yeah.
Okay. And what's his relationship to the applicant, MDZ? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay. And just so I'm clear, you've never spoken with the Bakers who were in the property, correct?
No, I have not.
Okay, so you have no firsthand understanding from the bakers of what their business operations are, correct?
Only what I could see on inspection. I had plans from the bakery from 10 years ago where we prepared an addition design for the bakery. So I did have the plans. I do know how the bakery works, but I have not spoken to the bakery owner.
Well, you don't know how the bakery's internal operations currently work, correct?
Only what I can visually see while I was doing my investigations.
Okay. And you did testify, I believe, you're aware that the bakery currently has a lease with the owner of the property, correct?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
You aware of the terms of that lease at all?
No, I'm not.
Okay. And did you testified something about demolition being completed within 9 months? What were you talking about?
No, the question that was posed to me was if the building was to be restored. I think specifically we were talking about 12 Baldwin Street at that point, that length of time to restore that building would be approximately 12 months.
Oh, the restoration, not the demolition, right?
Well, the restoration would include selective demolition, because if the building was scheduled to be restored, you wouldn't demolish the entire building. But we're not proposing that that building be restored. We are proposing that both buildings be raised.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gianakopoulous. Just a few questions for Mr. Zecchino, please. All right, Mr. Zecchino, good evening. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Just so I understand, I believe you referred to yourself as the owner of the property. That's not correct, is it?
I did not refer to myself as the owner. I referred to myself as the son of the owners.
Okay. You're the son of the owner. You're not the owner, correct?
No.
Okay. You're not the owner of the corporate entity MDZ Management LLC, correct?
I'm a member of the entity MDZ Management.
Okay. Who are the members of that company?
My father, Nick Zecchino Jr., my mother, Mary Ann Zecchino, Nick Zecchino III, and Nicole Skopak.
Okay. Now, just so I understand, you are aware that the bakery opposes this application, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But according to what I've seen presented, it appears that your application is contingent on the bakery remaining at the site, correct?
We would like the bakery to remain. It's been in our family for 60 years, and we would like to have them as the leaseholder and operator of Nicolo's Italian Bakery at 6 Baldwin Street.
Okay. And the bakery currently has a leasehold interest that goes through 2037. Is that right?
No, not exactly. We have a leasehold that goes through 2027
Right.
with a 10-year extension.
Okay. So that's 2037, correct?
Well, yes, 2027 plus 10 years is 2037. But there's stipulations in the lease of how it has to be extended.
Okay. And am I correct? Did you represent to your nephew DJ that you didn't have any plans of going through with phase 2 on this project?
No. I did not represent that to him.
No?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Zecchino. Just a few quick questions for Mr.
Can I expand on that?
I don't know. I'm not.
May I
think you answered
expand
my
on
question,
that?
but
Well,
you can-
you asked the question, so I don't know if they need to know this or if you need to know this. I told my nephew that we would like to go forward with the plan in cooperation with Nicolo's Bakery. Phase 2 is of the building of a new bakery for our family business to grow into the next 60 years. My mom and dad started this business 60 years ago with nothing and built it up, and it served our family well. The property now is my mother and father's interest. They're not bakers anymore, they're landlords. And when we looked at the MDZ Management, got together and looked at the property, we decided that we needed to maximize the economic viability of the project. We realized that the two-family house was beyond repair. It's constantly something breaking down. Pipes, electric. It's not a solid structure, albeit it's in a historic district with warrant to remain. Economically feasible to restore that house is just, it's insane. But we couldn't look into getting a feasibility, a restoration feasibility estimate to the T. But we've looked at it and we've got estimates. I've also talked to a local realtor. We went over every place in the historic district, and the house can't be moved. We can't find any place to put this house. We would love to be able to put it someplace, but there's nowhere in the historic district that would support us moving this house there. Therefore, we decided that we would like to build a 9-unit apartment building for my father and mother's continued success and MDZ Management's continued success, and reshape the bakery with my nephew's Phase 2 cooperation, because it would take a cooperation. We have a lease, and we would like for them to sign a new lease. And part of this opposition to this project, without drawing you into a big family drama, is my nephews feel that he has using this opposition to this as leverage to negotiate a new lease with us.
So, yes, it is a family drama, and we're really not here to help you through it. Yes,
I understand that, except for that things, obviously things have to be explained, because they're going to slant it in a certain way that's not exactly how it is.
Well, you're in front of the Historic Preservation Commission, and whether or not the buildings that are there, exist there today, warrant preservation. That's why we're here. That's why you're before us.
By the way, we recognize his questions for what they are.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
we'll
fine.
take it-
Thank
we'll
you.
take it with
Thank you. Because I don't
grain of salt.
understand why his questions to
because-
me, except for to be put on the record, his questions to me have nothing to do with you guys.
Okay.
So far,
All
I
right.
don't know if he's going to come up with some other questions that are going to be pertinent to why the landlord shouldn't have the right to build and develop a property that they've owned for 60 years.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zecchino.
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions?
I don't.
Okay.
Thank you. I do have a couple questions for Mr. Delaney. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Delaney, good evening. Just quickly, did you speak with anyone from the bakery in connection with what you've done in connection with this project?
No, I have not.
Okay. All right. So what is your, you don't have any firsthand knowledge of the current bakery operations at the property, correct?
Not from the bakery owners, correct.
Okay. So it was your testimony that you understand the existing bakery will remain operational. What was that based on?
So the way that the phasing is set up is that the bakery itself, the building, the loading spaces in front of the building along Glen Ridge Avenue, the access to and from that building is going to remain accessible and usable during the Phase 1 construction, because the Phase 1 is just happening to the rear of that in the parking lot into that two-family.
Okay, but beyond that, you don't have you don't know exactly what the bakers do on a day-to-day basis, right?
No, I don't know what they do on a day-to-day basis.
You're not aware that they also use the garage at the premises? Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right, nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to question?
I have a question for the commission.
Wait, identify yourself, please, Ira.
Happy to do that. Ira Smith.
Mhm.
It's not, we're not up to public hearing. This is just questions for the experts
Oh.
or Mr.
Oh.
Zecchino.
Okay.
Sorry.
That was my question.
All right.
It's just for the experts.
You have to wait.
I just have one question I'll ask then for one of the experts, if that's okay.
Yep.
For the architect, are you aware there are 3 areas where the siding on number 12 has fallen away and the underlying wood siding is visible?
I believe Mr. Zecchino testified to that a few minutes ago.
He testified, I think it's plywood. It appears to be clapboard wood siding. So I'm asking if you've had a chance to examine it and render an opinion.
No, I haven't. During my testimony, I mentioned that that's a possibility. Underneath the asbestos shingles could be clapboards. And I think Mr. Graham also had mentioned it's possibly that it's brick as well. So we wouldn't know that until we do probes and a little demolition on the project.
Was there any conversation about doing probes proactively at number 12 or number 6?
So not at this point, no, because we were going down path 1, as I mentioned, and we didn't determine that there was historic fabric material. So our determination was that if a salvage plan would be required, we could put that together with our plans, but the restoration of the structure is not a feasible item.
Thank you. So this is probably my last question. The application form for the total demolition permit lists requirements, and as you've noted, in order to go down path 1, you've requested a waiver for some of those requirements. Was the request for a waiver based on a conversation or understanding with the HPC or the HPC officer that a waiver was possible?
No, the way that the application is laid out, the waivers are requested based on the architect and the engineer's review of the property, what we find. So those waivers are requested because we didn't feel that the restoration of the building was a viable avenue to go down.
Okay. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple more questions.
The objectors cross-examine the applicants. Do you have questions of whom?
The architect.
I guess you could do that, because the next would be objectors present their evidence.
It's just a quick question, and it goes to costs.
Right.
The 9-unit building, do you have a budget for that building?
We currently don't have a cost estimate laid out for the new construction yet. Mr. Zecchino may have information on that, but on my end, we don't.
Being the architect, do you think you could build that 9-unit building for $400 a square foot?
$400 a square foot is close to the going rate. It differs in scale and also in the historic restoration would be more than that, because it requires more artistic, materials.
You quoted a number of $800,000 to restore the small house, right?
I believe it was 855.
855.
Yeah.
And I just did some calculations of the square footage of that house. It's roughly 2,000 square feet, which makes the per square foot costs the same as the new building.
A little over the 400.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Thank you.
The difference being that the return would be substantially different, 2 apartments versus 9 units.
I'm not I have comments later.
Okay, before we go to the objectors presenting evidence, are there any other questions from the commission?
I do have one question. So based on the conversation that we're having about restoring the property, is there any way, just from your conversation, that you could possibly extend 12 without demolishing it and still create the 9 units?
So feasibility-wise, it may be possible to restore the front portion of the building and add on to it to increase the number of units to make it economically feasible.
And wouldn't that be a bit more cost-effective for you as well in terms of the build-out?
It may, it would have to be smaller.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? No? No? All right, now we'll have objectors. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman. Could we have Mrs. Marianne Zecchino make her statement in support of the application, and then she'll be available for questions? Anyone has them?
Okay, and that'll be your last witness? Okay.
Good evening, Chairperson and members of the Commission.
Hold on one second. Could you please state your name for the record?
My name is Marianne Zecchino.
Mrs. Zecchino, is the testimony you're about to present on this application of the commission the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
My husband Nick and I are the owners of property at 6 and 12 Baldwin Street, and we are the founders of Nicolo's Bakery. Nick and I were both born and raised in Montclair. We opened Nicolo's Bakery on Baldwin Street nearly 60 years ago. We raised our family in this community, and we built our business here, on this street, in this neighborhood. After many years of hard work, we transferred the bakery to our sons, and today one of our grandsons operates it. 3 generations of our family have baked on Baldwin Street. We appreciate the purpose and need for this commission, and we appreciate the importance of maintaining the historic nature of this neighborhood that my husband and I have known and lived and worked in for the last 80 years. I want to begin with the point that matters most to us. It was our intention when we started this bakery, and it remains our intention today, that Nicolo's Bakery remain in its current location under family management for generations to come. We have no desire to see Nicolo's Bakery moved anywhere, not now and not ever. We still own the land it sits on, and we are asking the commission to approve this application precisely because approval is what secures the bakery's future on Baldwin Street, which would make us very proud. The commission has heard testimony. The bakery opposes this application. Sadly, my grandson has taken the opportunity to object this application in an effort to gain leverage in our ongoing lease negotiations. This saddens Nick and I deeply because it's not the way we do things in our family. I would like to ask the commission to understand that this application has never been about displacing the bakery, and it's not about that now. The family has since discussed this project together. What has been said publicly in the product of the lack of communication within our family, and I regret that it happened in the newspaper and this hearing rather than around our kitchen table. As to the plan itself, the first phase replaces an aging multi-family house and garage with a small apartment building that has been designed to fit this street in its scale, and its material, and its detail. It is meant to look as though it has stood there for years. We're not looking to change the character of the neighborhood we grew up in. We're looking to improve a portion of our property that no longer serves it well, and to do so in a way that respects everything around it. The second phase is part that is personal to me. It provides an opportunity for a newly built facility for Nicolo's Bakery. The bakery has operated out of this same space for nearly 60 years. That space has served us well, but it was not designed for the way the bakery operates today. A new facility would give the business what it needs to keep going long after Nick and I are gone. This is the legacy we want to leave, a beautiful apartment building and a bakery that's still open. I just want to add something. You said you've been in the bakery. Our store is very small, and we have a lot of stuff in that store, and it's not easy to see everything. If we had a long store with all those windows It would improve the bakery very well. I want to be candid with the commission about one practical point. The bakery holds a lease to our property, and that lease runs for years to come if the bakery exercises its options. Any construction of the second phase will have to be carried out in cooperation with the family members who operate the bakery and with the proper regard for the bakery's continued operations. We understand that we accept it. It is a matter to be worked out within our family and under our lease. It is not a reason to withhold approval of this plan itself. Members of the commission, Nick and I are not developers. We're two people from Montclair who opened a bakery here, raised our children, and have owned this piece of Baldwin Street for most of our adult lives. We would not bring you a plan that would harm this street. We bring you a plan that improves it and gives our family bakery a home for the next 60 years. We have been part of Baldwin Street neighborhood for years, through good times and bad. I can remember only being the only business open in our neighborhood. As the owners of this property and the founders of the bakery, my husband and I respectfully ask this commission to approve the application. Thank you for your time and for your service to Montclair. I will ask you one other thing. I am very, very, very active in Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church. Always have been all my life. Respectfully submitted, Mary Ann Zecchino, co-owner of 6 and 12 Baldwin Street, Montclair, New Jersey, co-founder of Nicolo's Bakery.
Thank you, Mrs. Zecchino. I know that was very difficult for you. Okay, now we'll have the objectors present evidence. But it doesn't say commission presents objectors. At the end?
I would think so.
Okay.
We can confirm what you need. I think the public wants to have an applicant.
Okay.
All right, good evening. I know I introduced myself before. I'll do so a little more formally. My name is Roy Joseph Thibodaux. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Berkowitz, Lichtenstein, Koritzky, Giasulo, and Gross on Livingston Avenue in Roseland. I'm here on behalf of Nicolo's Italian Bakery. Its owners are right over there, DJ Zecchino and Fabian Reynosa. Fabian is also a residential tenant at 12 Baldwin Street, in addition to their company being a commercial tenant at 6 Baldwin. This is an application that's brought by a corporate entity, corporate LLC, that has no interest or involvement with the bakery. They are the landlord to the bakery. They are not the bakery, which I think has been made clear by their own application. Nicolo's Italian Bakery opposes this application. I did want to point out that in the application by MDZ, it was misrepresented that Nicolo's was somehow in some way on board with this, and I think the claim was that they wanted to, quote, substantially upgrade their street frontage, which was inaccurate and which was not a representation that MDZ was authorized to make on behalf of the bakery. I know we've briefly discussed this. I understand this is not a court of law. I'm not going to argue legal concepts here, but it's been acknowledged, it's been conceded by the applicant that there is a leasehold interest. There's a provision in the lease that affords Nicolo's until January of 2038 to be in possession of that property. So it begs the question of when the fact that an application for demolition is being sought for demolition that can't be commenced legally until January of 2038 at the earliest.
Mr. Thibodaux, I have a question. What is the corporate entity, if there is one, of Nicolo's Italian Bakery?
Nicolo's Italian Bakery, Inc.
Who are the owners or principals of Nicolo's Italian Bakery, Inc.?
DJ Zecchino and Fabian Reynoso, who are in the audience here tonight.
Thank you.
So for reasons that will be discussed by my client's expert, we believe the application is incomplete, and that will be addressed by our expert, who I would like to introduce, Mr. Ira Smith. Does Mr. Smith need to be sworn in?
Yes.
Ira, you might be.
Mr. Smith, you're an architect, is that correct?
I'm a design principal at Smith Marin Architecture and Interiors.
Okay. What does the NCARB designation entitle you to practice?
It's a certification that I'm what might be called the equivalent of ABD, all but dissertation. But in New Jersey, when your partner is a licensed professional, you work under his license. My partner is Eric Marin, licensed in the state of New Jersey since 1995.
Okay. And you perform the design work under that licensed architect?
Correct.
Okay. And do you have, is Mr. Thibodaux going to go through your historic credentials?
Yes.
Okay. Is the testimony you're going to provide on this application to the commission tonight the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Thibodaux, I'm leaving it to you to develop exactly what expertise you're offering him in. Okay?
Understood.
Okay.
Mr. Smith, would you please share your qualifications as a historic preservation expert with this commission?
As I mentioned, I'm a co-founder and design principal at Smith Marin Architecture and Interiors, located here in Montclair since 1997. I received a Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in architecture from Columbia University, 1986. I received a master's in architecture from Harvard University, 1990. From 2001 to 2011, I served on Montclair's Historic Preservation Commission and was either vice chair or chair for most of that time. During my time on the commission, we created and expanded the Town Center Historic District, concentrated along Bloomfield Avenue. We created the Pine Street Historic District, and we created the Upper Montclair Historic District. I've provided testimony to this body before, as well as other historic preservation commissions in New Jersey, including Glenridge, Millburn, and Princeton. In recent years, my office has served as a redevelopment design consultant to the Township of Montclair, ensuring that redevelopment guidelines for developers would lead them to architectural solutions that are harmonious with the historic neighborhoods in our town. The completed Seymour Street redevelopment project, also known as Wellmont, is one example of that.
Mr. Smith, have you been qualified as an expert before?
Yes.
In what capacities?
As an expert for historic preservation and architectural design.
By whom?
Well, this body, the Planning Board of Montclair, as well as HPCs of Glenridge, Millburn, Princeton.
I'd like to offer Mr. Smith as an expert in historical preservation.
Sorry. Yes.
Do you hold any license in the state of New Jersey?
No. Historic preservation consultants don't have the license that's comparable to an architectural license.
So you are providing testimony in what
as
area?
as a historic preservation consultant.
I'm not familiar with that specific.
Well, we have a consultant here.
How would you evaluate that?
I'm really not sure.
Well, I know Mr. Smith has had experience with this body. He has been the chairperson here. He's testified that he has given testimony to other historic preservation commissions in the state. So there isn't a license, as I'm aware of, correct?
Maybe I
Mr.
can
Oh.
offer one more credential that might matter to this body. In 2012, you awarded your first Preservationist of the Year award to me,
There you go.
perhaps on the basis of a certain amount of expertise.
I've been at,
Just, an expertise in the courtroom, like we're familiar with, can be qualified based on experience, credentials, expertise, and schooling and knowledge. So I think that I would submit that Mr. Smith has demonstrated his expertise, and knowledge, and experience in historic preservation here tonight.
What do, what-
And
I'd like to hear what he has to say.
I would counter that if he provides testimony, it can't be architectural, and it can't be engineering in nature, since he holds neither license in the state of New Jersey.
what, okay, but preservation-wise, it will certainly be.
I can address preservation aspects, right?
Commission?
I would
We can
accept,
We
yeah.
don't have to accept him necessarily as an expert, but he's well-versed in understanding historical structural information in that aspect, so we can at least hear his view and take it from our perspective, whether we would.
I would just say we should accept him or not, and I think it makes sense to accept as an
Yes.
expertise
Yes.
in historic
Yeah,
preservation. and
For
architecture.
someone to
Yeah.
provide an opinion as opposed to fact testimony, he has to be an expert.
Yeah.
So you have to accept or not. What weight you give his opinions, that's up to you. But you have to make a decision now that you're going to accept him or not as an expert in historic preservation, based on what's been offered.
He would definitely qualify.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry. So confirming he's qualified as an expert to give expert opinion testimony here tonight, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Smith, have you reviewed the application?
I have.
Okay, and have you formed opinions in connection with the application?
With regard to historic preservation aspects, yes.
Okay, and can you share those opinions with the commission here tonight?
Yes, I'd like to do that, and thank you. Good evening, Chair Bennett and Commissioners. I do have slides. I think it's only 7 or 8. I'll turn to them as I need to. I was asked by my client, the owner of Nicolo's Bakery, to review the suppositions of the application for demolition. My goal this evening is to call your attention to information about 6 and 12 Baldwin Street that is currently missing from the application, and the pre-hearing package you would have received prior to tonight. I believe it is reasonably necessary for you to obtain this additional information from the applicant before you can provide a thoughtful, defensible determination regarding any application waivers or demolition associated with 6 and 12 Baldwin Street. I agree with the HPC Architectural Consultant's conclusion, which was an overall conclusion that, quote, the application does not adequately substantiate the need to demolish the subject property in its entirety based on the review criteria for demolition set forth, total demolition set forth in the ordinance 347-142.1. First, the demolition application is flawed because it doesn't give adequate weight to the National Register nomination for the Pine Street Historic District, and it overlooks obvious attributes of both 6 and 12 Baldwin Street. I'll go into those. As a result, the application downplays and you could say simply misses the historical significance of the structures at 6 and 12 Baldwin. In addition, as per the historical consultant's questions earlier of the applicant, important justifications for demolition were not provided in the application. The applicant has talked about going through path 1, which refers to being able to demonstrate several criteria that the property does not meet, and therefore demolition is warranted. I would argue from a historical basis that most of the conclusions drawn by the applicant are incorrect, which I'll demonstrate through the slides. In addition, no alternatives for the use or reuse of both or one or both of the existing buildings was offered. The application addresses the possibility that there could be some form of adaptive reuse, not simply total demolition or nothing. There are no reports from licensed professionals included in the application that might show the structures are at risk due to imminent structural failure or infestation of insects or some other threat to the integrity of the buildings. This exact background information is really required by the application. It's not just to provide the applicant with possible explanations for why demolition is necessary, but to aid you, the Commission, in making sure all avenues toward preservation have been explored and that demolition is ultimately justified. So without a reliable presentation of the historic background of a property or supporting information that shows the hardships of ongoing property ownership of historic buildings, there is no compelling reason or argument, I believe, for demolition. Proposing a new development is not itself a reason to take down two buildings that date from the historic district's period of significance. In the case of this application, I believe the HPC should gather more information before committing its decision to a vote. Let's take a closer look now at the buildings themselves. They seem like an unlikely pair, a gabled wood frame structure on the right, number 12, and number 6, a layered assembly of textures, forms, as it was described. Layered, I think, is a great descriptive for that, for number 6. In fact, this is a typical configuration for the Pine Street Historic District. The nomination report, which has been mentioned this evening, puts this apparent incongruity of form, mass, textures in context. I'm going to read from the first paragraph of that nomination report, The Significance of the Architecture is the title of section 6. The proposed Pine Street Historic District is significant architecturally as an intact working-class neighborhood of single-family dwellings, multi-unit commercial and residential structures, and small-scale neighborhood-oriented commercial properties. Buildings within the proposed district range from vernacular-style frame residences built in the 1880s, I'll return to that phrase, vernacular-style frame residences, to multi-story masonry buildings constructed during the first decade of the 20th century to the late 1930s with Renaissance Revival, Italianate, Classical Revival, and bungalow craftsman-style influences. The district is also significant architecturally as a distinctive collection of small-scale masonry dwellings, small-scale, that comprise an extraordinary display of masonry products and finishes that were popular from the 1890s until after World War I. The nomination report, as I read it to you, recognized the very eclectic nature of the Pine Street Historic District, that unlike neighborhoods where you might have more homogeneous collection of single-family homes of a Victorian character, or even along Bloomfield Avenue where you have commercial buildings of a certain type and quality, the range of appearance and the unlikely combination of forms is what gives the Pine Street Historic District its character. So the application for demolition describes the buildings as standing in contrast to the character of the historic district, but they actually epitomize an essential part of the fabric that was Montclair's Little Italy. We'll take a closer look at number 12. Is there any way the lights could be dimmed? If not,
here.
Oh, well. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So we're looking at number 12 Baldwin Street. This spare utilitarian home would have been typical of the workers' housing built in the Pine Street neighborhood in the early 20th century, even earlier, starting in the 1880s. Wood siding and period-appropriate windows are mostly what's missing from this building today. It's a very humble building, but typical from that era. This was worker housing because there were several mills just to the west. Tony's Brook, with its multiple streams, fed mills at that location around what we now call Lackawanna Plaza. Workers lived in the vicinity. These homes were not ornate, and the missing detail, as it's described in the application, is not really missing. It's under the current cement shingles. So there are 3 locations where the asbestos, or I'm not sure if it's asbestos, what's been described as asbestos siding has fallen away. One is actually on the front of the building. This one's on the side of the building. The rear of the building, and there's another one on the side. A little hard to tell from this photograph, but what we're looking at is wood clapboard that's lost its paint. It's not plywood. It's not known whether this material is intact throughout the body of the building. It would require probing, but probing is a common request or condition of proceeding with an application. I would encourage the HPC to exploit that avenue, to learn more, to make the right decision for both buildings, for number 6 and number 12 on this property.
Mr. Smith, do you have copies of these photos?
I've given the PDF to Ms. Cosme.
Okay.
So you have it in that way. Do you need hard copies as well? I don't
No,
have hard
but
copies this
we'll-
evening.
We'll mark the set as 01. Do you know how many photos there are in this set?
I think it's 7.
Okay.
7 images total.
All right, if that's not correct, we'll just correct it. 7 photos. Is that correct? I mean, assuming it's 7?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, fine.
Hard to tell. Here, we're actually looking underneath, so kind of a worm's eye view looking up at the corner of number 12. What you can't quite make out is that we seem to be looking at wood sheathing with the wood clapboard on top, which would indicate a certain amount of integrity remains if one were to remove the asbestos shingles. There may be additional wood detail on this house, possibly under the eave, which received some kind of, I think it might be aluminum paneling. There could be rafter tails or other distinctive wood from the earlier period of its construction, which would restore, if the windows were restored as well, I think, a large amount of the historic character of this residence. If we step back a bit, we can also note that number 12 is the last wood frame home standing on Baldwin Street. That might seem like a comment coming out of nowhere. We know from insurance maps of the period that there were other freestanding single-family wood frame homes on both sides of Glen Ridge Avenue and Baldwin Street, some of similar size and some much larger. They're all gone in the immediate vicinity. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. The subject property is outlined. Subject property is outlined in red. We're looking at an atlas from 1906. Every yellow building you see is a wood frame structure in the area. Along Glen Ridge, traveling up both sides, meeting the immediate neighbors of number 12. And this continued down. All of those houses are gone. I would say number 12 is not out of character with Baldwin Street right now. I would actually say that it's what's left of that earlier residential character. Furthermore, taking another step back, the Baldwin Street School and the Mini A. Lucy House are on Baldwin. These are 2 of the 3 key structures in the Pine Street Historic District. They're close neighbors. I think that because of its proximity to those buildings, number 12 provides a compelling piece of the story that describes life in Montclair and its Little Italy between the 1890s and 1930s. Preserving number 12 preserves that history, and the architectural integrity of Baldwin Street itself. Let's now look at 6 Baldwin. It's been stated several times that 6 is kind of a shaggy dog, layered, strange, unattractive. I've come to understand buildings like this differently over the years. What does something like this have to do with the Pine Street neighborhood? If the applicant had truly read and understood the history of the nomination report, I think they would see something different. Perhaps you will. I'm going to quote from the nomination report again. Although the area was largely residential, the entire neighborhood was zoned commercial. So it was largely residential, but the entire neighborhood was zoned commercial. An uncommon mix of usage in Montclair, indicative of the degree to which family life and commerce were interwoven in this self-contained Italian-American community. That's from the nomination report. It explains why we have an unusual, informal, mixed-use approach at number 6, which again characterizes the architectural heritage of the Pine Street Historic District. Number 6 is a perfect example of that in its multi-layered state. I'd also like to go a little bit further. I think it was mentioned earlier that, regarding number 6, that revisiting some of the terms that define historic characterizations for the properties needs to be done, and perhaps revisiting them in order to reassign categories of characterization would be a helpful thing. There are time limits associated or timelines associated with when we begin to regard a structure as historic. As it's been noted, Nicolo's Bakery has been here since the mid-60s. That is quite a while ago, 50, 60 years. So at what point do we start to view buildings like this as deserving of historic preservation recognition? I don't have a ready answer. But I will say, when you look at this, it is a kind of iconic image of a working class culture. It tells a very clear story, I think, about living and working in a certain way. It could easily fit in the opening credits of a certain TV show, of a certain family, in Caldwell, with the father, played by James Gandolfini. We kind of know what this building represents. It communicates a lot. Historic preservation as a discipline is still sort of relatively young, born around the time that Nicolo's Bakery began. I think in many ways we're still figuring out what historic preservation should be. But I also want to bring things back to reality. The period of significance for the Pine Street Historic District ends in the 1930s. So to really understand the building before we can even contemplate demolition, we should learn more about it. For example, the detailing of the metal siding indicates it's covering something else. I think I heard perhaps brick based on what Commissioner Graham was saying. Perhaps it is brick. Perhaps underneath that brick is a typical expression of the other kinds of mixed-use 3-story buildings that exist elsewhere, and it would fit right in if the siding were removed in that case. We don't know, but we should know. The Commission should know before it makes a serious decision about what happens to number 6. So as at 12, I think probing of the facades and eaves would be very informative to you. And I say that the HPC should seek this information not just for the purposes of potential preservation or HABS documentation, but for the benefit of the property owner who may discover there is unexpected value in restoring and adding even to their existing buildings. Heritage tourism is a real thing. The idea of living, working in a historic structure has cachet. Rents might be appreciably more than a newer building that's not as interesting, not as authentic to the neighborhood. There is another detail that definitely deserves more scrutiny. It's very unusual, and probably all of you have noticed it and kind of looked away because it's so weird. To this double roof. Nineteenth century bakeries had intense ventilation requirements due to using brick ovens or other ways of baking, fire-generated equivalent. While Nicolo's bakery opened in the 1960s, it took over from a prior bakery on the site. There's reason to believe that there's underlying structure here that's very much worthy of documentation from a historical perspective. Whether the building is ultimately demolished or not, I think it would just be interesting to explore how this was done. The owner of the bakery has explained to me that even today they rely on that space for ventilation and have a kind of excessive mechanical system that exploits being under the roof. It helps to be under the roof because that itself provides shade for these ventilators, which will otherwise overheat in the summer. We won't know the answers to these relevant questions unless the HPC seeks additional information about the condition of historic fabric on this site, well before discussing mitigation measures or allowing any kind of demolition. My final image is the bakery sign itself. I was interested to hear the chair refer to objects as one of the things that the Historic Preservation Commission should be thinking about. It's common to imagine that historic preservation means we save buildings and just buildings, but in fact, sometimes there are other things happening on a building, near a building, that aren't purely architectural. This sign is an example of that. Another iconic and culturally significant sign, I would say, for people who live in Montclair or don't live in Montclair, but this is a true landmark and destination for them. So it's not typical to preserve a building because of its sign, but I do think there should be a conversation at the HPC about this sign in order to establish its historic value as part of your review of this application, whether to acknowledge its character-defining contribution to the building and the neighborhood, or in the case of any proposed alteration to the building or site, the importance of preserving it in some capacity, protecting it in some capacity. For close readers of historic preservation, you will recognize I've been appealing primarily to technical criteria related to historical, architectural design, cultural, and social significance. The setting, its association with an earlier form of residential settlement, the utilitarian aspect of these buildings, and their greater relevance to filling in the story of the Pine Street Historic District are all elements that convey the property's historical significance. My final comment, almost done, is in regard to the design of the proposed development as depicted in the application and recorded in the Engineer of Records Site Data Chart Sheet SP-1.0. The development will require several variances for rear yard setbacks, side yard setback, lot coverage, and parking. These excesses, atypical for this site and the district, are indicative of a development that will be very different in character from what is there today. I assume the total demolition permit ordinance asks for all of the material in the application in order to give the HPC an opportunity to weigh the loss of historic fabric against the benefits of something new. I'm not against development. I hope you'll take full advantage of that opportunity, as I agree with the Smolin report that the proposed buildings, quote, skew toward fake historicism. A development that is of our time, but also picks up on essential lessons of overall building composition, proportion, fenestration strategy, materiality in the historic district would be more appropriate. But, and I'll conclude here, why would you do any of that when what's on site right now already embodies the DNA of the Pine Street Historic District? Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. So, where are we up to now? Applicant, the rebuttal by objectors, rebuttal by applicant.
Do we examine the witness first?
Oh, that's, okay. Yes, so
I
maybe.
think we question first.
We question first, and then we'll have the rebuttal. Okay, and
Can you turn the
anybody?
light back on?
Let's turn the light back on.
So in the dark there you go.
Commissioners, Mr. Giuliano, we'll start with you. Do you have any questions of either witness?
No.
Ms. Floyd?
No.
Mr. Rooney?
No.
No?
No.
No. I don't have any questions either. Well, the one question is for the bakery building, aside from the double structure with the slanted roofs, did you do any anything to see whether there was brick underneath that, or you're not able to? I realize that, but was there anything indicative that there might be brick under there?
It definitely occurred to me to explore on my own, but my better self kept me from doing that. One can see around the windows, the way they're built out with siding, that there is definitely some other siding under the finish on number 6. So active probing would be required in strategic locations to really get to the bottom of what's happening there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And just on number 12, Baldwin, what led you to believe that it's wood clapboard and not plywood under the shingles?
The material was inches away from my face, and I could see full wood grain and the thickness of the clapboard itself.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up, Joe?
Yes, of course.
And just for the record, I concur with that opinion that it is wood clapboard. I've seen that portion of the facade as well in person with the shingle, the sacrificial layer removed, and you can clearly see wood clapboard below. Mr. Smith, though, you were the vice chair, it looks like, around 2005 when the nomination report was prepared.
Correct.
For the Pine Street Historic District. Are you suggesting that the classification given to 6 Baldwin Street at that time of harmonizing altered was in error or should be reconsidered at this time?
No, I wasn't suggesting for this particular application that a reclassification was warranted, just that as our perception of buildings and their evolution grows and passes over time, that one might need to look differently at something we might have scoffed at as a shaggy dog from the 60s suddenly becomes typical, representative, something to be preserved. And using that frame, other buildings in all the districts might be judged differently, classified differently today.
You're not contending, though, that 6 Baldwin Street would be a contributing resource to the Pine Street Historic District, though?
So now we're getting into what is restoration. If the siding, for example, were removed and brick were exposed and it actually had a detail characteristic of its original period of construction, would that warrant such a reclassification? If period-appropriate windows were installed in place of what's there today, faithful, not interpretive, does that move it even closer to being contributing? There have been a few examples in town where people have, I think the commission's been a part of it, done their best to faithfully restore by recreating with period-appropriate materials what was once there, evidenced by period photographs or drawings. You know, do those buildings get reclassified once they've assumed their new life? They've been made over, but I know typically they don't. We don't want to fool the public, but sometimes you do see people spending a great deal of time and effort to literally restore things using original materials and so forth.
But the question's not hypothetical. I'm talking about the structure 6 Baldwin Street as it exists today.
The classification is fine as it stands today.
Thank you.
No other questions then? All right, now it would be time for the applicant cross-examines the objector's witnesses.
Just one question.
Would you mind using one of the microphones, please? Thank you.
Just one question, as Mr. Smolin asked the other questions that I was going to ask, because the witness appears to be disagreeing with the commission's expert's conclusion on 6. But when you looked at you commented, one of your final comments were that variances were required in connection with the new proposed construction. Did you consider the fact that there are existing conditions that are similar and we're not exacerbating any of the problems that exist?
I think anytime you're looking for a waiver or variances regarding setbacks and parking, you are by definition aggravating on-site conditions, whether it's architectural or vehicular flow or safety or other issues that are related to these things.
Nothing.
Is that it? Okay. The rebuttal by objectors.
If I may just add, Attorney Bauer, earlier today, Mr. Clemente and I were on some emails. You had asked me to provide some documents to make them part of the record. Are those documents part of the record? Do you need anything further on that? The emails that I had copied Mr. Clemente on?
I'm not planning to make your correspondence part of the record.
Okay.
If you object to that, let me know, but it's really a legal issue that's not before this commission.
Well, I think the brief that you asked me to submit for today, I would like that to be considered as part of the record, since that was a request of the panel that be provided.
Mr. Clement, do you have any objection to putting in the record for tonight's hearing the August 20th 2-page letter brief that Mr. Thibodaux wrote regarding the lease?
I have not had an opportunity to review that. I would object.
Okay. No, I'm going to rule it out. I don't think it's pertinent to this commission's decision.
So, any other?
Sorry, nothing else from the opposition.
Okay. Any questions? Do we do questions from? Okay. Any questions from us for rebuttal? No. Where are we now? Rebuttal? I'm sorry. No, I think we're finished with that. So now we still have to vote on the waivers as the commission, but at this point, maybe, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. We'll have public comment. What?
We vote on the waivers. you know what, never mind, it's okay.
I just, there was somebody that wanted to make a public comment, so I was going
Yeah,
to...
that's what I'm saying, to wait for him first.
Right, to ask him to come to the podium and just identify yourself and your address.
Hello, my name is Jack Rifkin. I live across the street from Nicolos. Right outside my window toward the left is 6 Baldwin. Right outside my window to the right is 12 Baldwin. I'm against the demolition. I don't believe that there is a need for it, except for those who currently live outside of Montclair to make money. I think the business of the, according to the current owners, want it to stay the same. I'd like to see it the same. I don't want demolition right across the street from where I live to smell what may be debris from bricks. I want to keep on smelling Nicolos and what comes from the bakery and good smells like that. I don't think it's Montclair's values to destroy historic property for who is currently outsiders to make more money. I think Nicolos, as it is now, stands for Montclair's values. They hire all kinds of hardworking people, showing diversity. They're servicing many customers and many community businesses in the Montclair area and in Montclair. Nicolos, as it is now, has been known for decades for the half of Montclair on the Mountainside Hospital area. Today's Nicolos has the respect of the community, and today's Nicolos doesn't want the change. Big buildings side by side like Manhattan, I don't think contributes to the area. In the building where I live now, it's a large building, but there's a grassy area in front of it. The Nicolos going to the corner where the fire hydrant is in that little corner, I just don't think fits. To me, what fits is what's there now, and I'm hoping that the historic buildings, both of them, stay as they are now. I don't think what I've seen fits into the character of the area. I live in a building that's 100 years old. The outside of the building is the same as it was. If you walk into the building, it's the same as it was. And all places possible should keep the historic value, in my opinion. I'm a regular person in the community, dressed as a regular person in the community. I believe I'm speaking for the community. Nobody asked me for my opinion, so I get to give my opinion now. And the way it looks now is important and significant to me and all those who I live with in the building across the street, and I believe the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ripken. Is there anybody else that would like to speak public comment? No? No. Okay, so public comment would be closed. We do have waivers. We have 2 waivers, and you have an F, which is non-applicable. I don't understand why you consider that to be non-applicable. So why don't we discuss the waivers, we'll vote on those, and then I think the commission needs to have a discussion whether the, excuse me?
Are we able to vote on the waivers before we determine like the demolition side of it, or aren't the waivers conditioned on?
If you decide that you need the information in the paragraph that they're asking to waive, the application doesn't go further because they have to go back and provide that information.
Okay.
That the criteria is whether it's reasonably necessary for you to make your decision on the application for total demolition of the structures.
Okay.
So,
Madam Chairman?
yes.
With respect to
Mr. Clemente, can you grab out one of the microphones? Thank you.
With respect to the application and the discussion tonight, rather than asking you, we're not obviously, I believe, going to get to a position where you could vote on the application tonight. We would request that you not vote on the waiver at this point and let us go back and do further analysis and supplement our submission.
I think that's appropriate, yes.
Carry this
I
to
think
a-
that's very appropriate, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and you'll do more probing for the two buildings?
We're
as well?
obviously going to have to do the testing and the investigation that was discussed here.
Okay.
Because
oh,
if not, I don't believe we can give you a comprehensive presentation for you to vote on.
Okay, that's
And
one,
regarding waiver C, in terms of estimated costs of restoration, I'd be interested in a breakdown of what that really means. Because you can go crazy with it, or we can just get it to a certain point. It all goes to some dollars. I know this is a development and so on. I just want to try to understand it all. So.
Yes, understood.
and I have a question about F, which you wrote non-applicable. Preservation or salvage of architectural elements that are proposed for removal and photographic documentation. You testified that, in your opinion, there wasn't anything significant on both buildings. And we're only speaking about the buildings that front on Baldwin. We're not talking about the other two that are in the back, the storage buildings.
Yes.
Yes, and are those buildings, we haven't heard anything about them or seen any close-up photographs. Are those
The cinder block garage.
Garages, okay. All right, I'm just curious as to what, because I haven't really.
I don't think anyone suggests that there are architectural elements in a cinder block garage.
Okay, but I would like you to investigate F, which you wrote non-applicable for a submission requirement.
Yes, ma'am.
When
Understood.
you return with this, okay?
Understood. Thank you.
So we have to carry the hearing to a future date. Our next meetings are September 10th at 7:30 PM. Then we have October 22nd or November 19th. October 22nd at 7:30 PM. Okay, so the hearing for application number 2026-14, 6 to 12 Baldwin Street for applicant MDZ Management LLC has been carried to October 22nd, 2026, without the need for further public notice. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, for their effort. I think Pine Street Historic District is one of the jewels in Montclair, so thank you
And
very
I also
much.
do think that the value of the family, of the Nicholas family being here is historical in itself. That's maintained, really. I just want you to know that it's not just a building. There's very few
the
families
youth,
that, I know. I know. Right. So, it's a good family, and I love Nicolo's, so, food, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Will we be getting a copy of this supplemental submission timely in order to be able to prepare for the next hearing?
So they're required to submit 10 days prior to the hearing, and we'll upload that. I can also forward it to you. Yeah.
Everybody know everything? Okay, great. So there's no new business. Someone have a adjournment? Request to adjourn at 10:30?
Move to adjourn.
Oh, sorry.
All in favor?
Oh, hold on one sec, Kathleen.
Oh.
Sorry, did you need us
We'll
to?
give these back to you.
Oh, the samples, okay, all right. Yeah, I thought maybe it was part of the conversation, the
All right,
application.
our meeting has been adjourned at 10:28. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience.